All right. Welcome to another episode of Assets and Algorithms. I am here with Christian, who is leader over at True North Property Management. Thank you for joining me today, Christian.
My pleasure, mate. Thanks for having me, Derek.
I'd like to jump right in and ask you if you could share a little bit about your role and how it fits into the bigger picture over at True North.
Yeah, for sure. So my role as both founder and CEO, although I'm trying to fire myself currently as CEO, so I can just be founder and visionary. But in the bigger picture of things, I think, it's evolving constantly for me. Right now, funnily enough, on that note that I just mentioned, the bigger picture is me actually getting out of the way of the company, I think, maybe at some point. Ironically, being the CEO, I think I'm maybe like I got my hands in a little bit of everything, right, throughout the company. And I think, maybe that actually limits each of the individual people within my company a little bit because they're not fully stepping into their all because they always rely on me just a little bit, rather than knowing the entire weight is on them. But beyond that, my role is really leadership, teaching my team why they want to do what I want them to do, what our mission is, why it
Mhm.
matters, and also future-proofing the company and ensuring that the company and all their roles are progressively getting more opportunity rather than declining, and that no situation that could come up is going to break us. Beyond that, it's also being the visionary of the company and ensuring that the company continues to evolve and grow into everything that we want it to become over the next couple of years.
Awesome, awesome. I love that answer. I love that you said you're future-proofing the company, right? I think that's really important now, especially for all of the things that's going on. Can you tell me a little bit about what technology you may be implementing for the daily to help future-proof the company?
Technology, I think being progressive in essence and constantly evolving company and creating better performance as a company and in terms of what we can do for revenue generation for our clients is in essence future proofing the company in one way
Mhm.
because the better we are and the more we continue to evolve and dominate our marketplace, the more we're going to future proof it, at least from a competitive standpoint. So I would say refining our revenue management. So we have revenue management software, um, implementing marketing tools that no one else has, especially in the realm of AI. And we're also developing some connections between our property management software and some of the hotel management softwares. And with that, that's going to future-proof us because it's going to give us something no one else has.
Absolutely. I love that, man. Staying ahead of the curve, right? So speaking of that, tell me about what shifts you're seeing in the industry right now.
I'm seeing lots of shifts, and it really depends what angle you want me to come at that from. But one shift I'm seeing is like within the industry from like a guest reservation standpoint, what they're looking for, the primary trend in the industry is wellness. So guests are looking for wellness-oriented activities and amenities within properties. So if you can cater to that as a property owner or a developer or a hotelier, the more you can dial that in and cater to that, the more your property is going to stand out to based on what people are looking for. Other trends, there's a lot of saturation in the industry. My industry's gone very saturated, hyper competitive. There's tons of people pouring into the space both
Mhm.
from a property owner standpoint, so an inventory standpoint, but also from a property manager standpoint. When I say future proofing the company, I'm also thinking two steps ahead as far as how we're going to pivot in order to not fall in the ocean and be like just a drop in the ocean. So what are the trends? I would say what should be a trend is standing out no matter what from all the others that are in the space, whether it's from your property standpoint or from your property management standpoint. Because ultimately, because it's getting more saturated, you got to stand out or you got to pivot. Yeah, I think those are some of the primary things. AI is huge right now. That's going to be one of the biggest shifts in this industry, period. It's going to change the industry entirely over the next 5 years. It's making some big shifts now, but I think it's barely touched the surface of what's going to happen. Guest communications, that's a big one. Previously, it's always been, like we have a team of VAs from around the world, right? And they're handling phone lines 24/7, responding to guests.
Mhm.
AI is coming in to basically not replace them entirely, but to create a lot more automation within
Mhm.
what they do, increase the quality of their role and the timeliness in which they guests get responses For example, sometimes a guest can respond, oh, I was going to swear, but I'll try and refrain. There's a friggin', like a dead animal in the swimming pool, right?
Hmm.
And then the AI will automatically generate a task. But if you have the right software, it'll generate a task for the
Hmm.
maintenance person that will make it so the maintenance person immediately gets a pop up. It will tell the guests we've organized maintenance to come on. They're on their way, and then that whole process is automated. Then they get the address, they get the code of entry, they just send it, and then they go take
Absolutely.
care of it. Cool.
Listen, I love that answer. I think AI is, I agree with you, is going to completely change the industry. Even in the example that you just described and in the way that you described it, enhancing some of your VAs and other employees that you have to do a better job and increase the quality of the work and the efficiency of the timing for some others is exactly what I think it's going to do as well. So that definitely resonates with me. You talked a little bit about that guest communication factor and staying ahead of the curve. You've had a ton of awards from Airbnb, TripAdvisor, and VRBO. What do you think you've done differently from other management companies to earn that level of recognition?
I think part of it comes down to a couple of things. Really our core values. I think our core values as a company kind of dictates that
Mhm.
indirectly. We have core values of like pursuit of excellence, constant never-ending improvement, genuine care. And between those three, like take initiative, like between those and some of the other ones we have, like it just kind of dictates the actions that everyone in the company takes. That just
Mm,
makes you go a bit above and beyond in every sense, but also really like what dictates amazing hospitality? It's really, I mean, it takes a level of genuine care for sure, because you have to have empathy for the guest enough to want to create an experience that makes them go wow, or feel cared about enough to say wow. Like you have to trigger something in them that makes them feel something, that makes them want to say something. So it takes a little bit of genuine care. It takes, another one of our core values is over delivering, right? So in
mm,
every scenario, every chance we get, we over deliver and we give something that's above and beyond what they expect, right? That helps big time. I think that's probably one of the most underrated things that you could incorporate into your life and in your business. A lot of people just want to give the status quo, but that's average. If you want to give average, well, then you're going to get average.
absolutely.
So I think, like I said, most of it comes from the core values.
Mhm.
There's a lot of other things I could say we do, where I could get into the detail, very technical, but I think that it all derives from that central point.
Listen, that's amazing. I think those values are definitely important, and the proof is in the pudding, right? You have that success for a reason. So, sticking with the Airbnb and the VRBO aspect, can you talk a little bit about how those technologies have impacted your business growth strategy?
Some companies want to just completely, they just don't like those booking channels. They don't agree with their policies. So they
Hmm.
try and push to only do direct bookings, right? We
Hmm.
don't look at it that way. We see them as a massive benefit. They've helped us massively throughout the years. Rather than trying to see them as a problem, we try and find the best ways to utilize what they are and what they have and how they change. Ultimately, they all have their own algorithms, right? So one
Right.
way in which we've adjusted our growth strategy is we've hired a listing optimization. We've trained a listing optimization specialist in-house, which understands how those algorithms work on each of those booking channels. They have
Mhm.
their own SEO. It's like you have to do. We have our own SEO for those booking channels, essentially, right? So
Mhm.
that's one way in which we've adapted our growth strategy, because not many people have that. Some people understand it, but they don't necessarily have a designated department for that, right?
Right.
And that really gives us a nice point of difference and helps us also our listings stand out from the rest once they're live. Gives us the USP with performance too. So that's one. There's only two booking channels. Another growth strategy is like we have one of our USPs is that we're on every booking channel available. So we don't
Mhm.
just stick to those two. We're on like just for a vacation rental, we're on like 17 different booking channels for one property. And if it's a hotel style property or a building that could be marketed as a hotel, we can if it's say we get a condo a building filled with condos, right? Or if
Mhm.
it's a building with more than 3 units, we can list it online, get it as a hotel.
Mhm.
Simultaneously, we can put each room online as a vacation rental, and we can push it out to all the hotel booking channels and all the vacation rental ones simultaneously, all connected from one central hub. So that just like launches performance and massively amplifies performance. If you think about it, because it's just supply and demand, you're getting way more exposure. You're hitting both
Right.
markets as opposed to just one or the other, right?
Right.
That's it's a big one. That's
Yeah.
definitely a big selling point for us, especially with like boutique hotels or any kind of building style project.
Listen, I think that's brilliant. I think both of those things you spoke about are brilliant, right? Being able to understand and really dial into what that algorithm is, how to benefit from it the best way, as well as, opening the market up, right? Being able to use different channels and market the same property in multiple different ways to appeal to different clients. That's amazing, man. You talked a little bit about what's working well. I'd love to hear about what's been frustrating or some of the obstacles that you've overcame.
Well, for starters, I'm an entrepreneur, and there's nothing not frustrating about that. Uh, but there's a lot of things that I would say have been frustrating, but we overcome constantly. The other thing is I would say we're constantly creating new frustrations and new problems, bigger problems, constantly because we're trying to tackle bigger issues because we
Mhm.
have bigger goals, right? So, for example, right now we're trying to understand how we can manage 1,000 hotels. That gives you a pretty big problem to tackle because
Mhm.
there's a scalable problem, there's a human resource problem, there's a tech problem, there's a sales problem. There's a lot of different things to tackle there. So, I seem to give myself more problems by design constantly, which
Mhm.
is just beyond me why entrepreneurs like myself are such masochists. However, I love it all the same, and it will pay off, and it's paying off, and it will pay off big time when we solve this bigger problem right now. So, some of the biggest pain points, I would say, I love our clients, but
Mhm.
managing lots of clients can be difficult at times, keeping everyone happy. So again, we don't see problems or issues as issues. We see them as opportunities
Mhm.
to create a better, more unique service. So, with this, for example, okay, so clients, we manage a lot of them. It's kind of like like I started a company to be my own boss and have ultimate freedom, right? And
Mhm.
then I have all these clients now, and it's like I have a couple hundred bosses. It's the sweet irony. But with that, I've delegated account managers. We've got a system now that completely, I don't have to have much input with them now. And now we're looking, okay, how can we be aggressive with this and actually turn that what felt like a weakness into one of our biggest strengths? So,
Mhm.
we're coming up with solutions of how we can just over deliver for the owners constantly as
Right.
well, provide them more than they ever asked for. So that's all massively evolving right now as well. I'm an entrepreneur. I've been in this business for 10 years. I could go on about problems all day, quite frankly, but I don't think anyone doesn't face them
Mhm.
often, especially in this business. But like I said, man, ultimately, they're all opportunities, and we treat them. If you treat them as such, it's just going to make you grow constantly and become better and better. Um, yeah, I'd say those are the primary points I could share on that right now.
I think that's a great
A lot of ones.
philosophy to have. A great philosophy to be able to focus on those frustrations and those pain points and look at them as opportunities to grow, right? Opportunities to get better and exceed those goals that are consistently coming up. So that's awesome. Um, Tell me where do you want to be 6 or 12 months from now?
I'm thinking more 2 years right now. 6 to 12 months. In 12 months, I'd like to pretty much just be focusing primarily on the vision and the ultimate direction of the company and
Mhm.
I want the company within 12 months to be growing and evolving constantly without
Mm,
my input.
mm,
I want it to be
mm,
growing X what it is now and evolving 10X what it is now without my input. That's my
mm.
goal in 12 months. So that's what I'm
No,
working towards right now.
I mean, that is the dream, right? To build those systems out, to have it just go, right?
Yeah.
And that sounds
It's all
great, man.
systems and people, man. I think ultimately when you get clear on what you want, you can then reverse engineer it. So you can just see, okay, what are the pieces? What does that look like? And what are the pieces I need to put in place in order to get there? So then it becomes, rather than just being a goal, it becomes a plan. And then you just follow the steps and you're pretty much going to line up there as long as, plotted it out right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's great advice. If you could solve one major challenge today, what would it be?
If I could solve one major challenge, I would exit my company tomorrow for $50 million.
That sounds amazing,
That'd
man.
be it. Yeah, yeah,
All right.
that's
Well,
it. Yeah,
Thank you.
if you want me to give something more detailed, I would say I would accomplish my 12-year goal. I would have basically essentially fired myself
Mhm.
and have replaced myself with people that are better than me.
Mm. Okay. That's what is the hallmark of a business that's gonna last forever after we're gone as entrepreneurs and be able to be carried on by other later generations and the ones that aren't. So I'm pushing for you, man. I hope you're able to find those people for sure.
They're coming in. I'm actually we're in a really good spot right now. Everything is moving very, very well in that direction, fortunately. But I appreciate it, brother.
Awesome. Awesome, man. Awesome. Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. I want to give you the chance to us your contact information, where we could reach you if anybody wants to talk to you or reach out to you for your services.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to give a clue in onto what our primary services are, we amplify revenue, streamline operations, buy back the owners and team's time, and ultimately increase the value of the asset for vacation rental properties, boutique hotels. Those are our two primary classes. Boutique hotels is really what we're focusing on now, because
Hmm.
we can add some serious value for them right now. There's no good operators in the industry right now focusing on them. There is no good software catering to those. They're all massively limited, and we're creating a nice bridge into
Mm,
something much more connected and much more built, much betterly built for success. If you want to reach out to us, oh, we also have a branch manager program. So if any property managers or real estate brokers are looking for an opportunity where they can plug into a very high performance machine, something that's been built out obsessively over 10 years. We have essentially kind of like a franchise model where you can leverage all our human resources, our backend systems, and our tech stack, and you can use that to then primarily on your portfolio and nurturing customer relations. If you want to find us, go to thetruenorthproperty.com. That's the THE, true, TRUE, North, NORTH, property, PROPERTY.com. And if you want to reach us, you can call our hotline at 231-237-8899. And if you want to reach me directly, you can email me at Christian, CHRISTIAN at the, here we go again, as long as the THE, true, TRUE, North, NORTH, property, PROPERTY.com. And I'd be happy to help if there's any way I can. If you are interested in potentially working with us, call the hotline. We'll make sure we support you in the biggest way.
sounds amazing,
Amen.
man. Thank you. And that's another episode of the Assets and Algorithms podcast.